Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sherry Danzig, and welcome to a presentation. It's going to be informal, so you're welcome to stop me and ask questions, but we're going to do a talk about water. We're going to talk about a particular water system. I'm going to do a couple of demos that we can somehow manage to do. We'll move my laptop around so you can see things. But I want to give you a little bit of a background education about the water. So water is one of those things that people are more and more aware of how important it is. I've been a massage therapist for over 30 years, so I certainly know about the importance of water and how it supports the body detoxing. The truth is that water is really one of the it's the most important nutrient you put in your body. We're about 70% water, so it really matters. And so the idea is if water is so important, then the quality of water you put into your body makes a difference. So if you've come to this presentation thinking all water is the same, which I'm guessing you probably don't feel that way or you wouldn't be here, but some people think that, it's really not true. Water is water. Yes, H2O is a molecule, but there's different aspects to water that make it different, better or worse. And so what we're presenting here is this company called Nikken. And Nikken is a company that started almost 50 years ago in Japan. They're a research development wellness company. And what's important to know about them, even in addition to them being almost 50 years old, is that their whole idea is about harnessing what is natural in nature. So Mother Nature's energy, and they harness that into everyday kinds of products that we can bring into our home. So I think we all can agree that if you're outside, you're in nature, you feel better, you can feel less stress, and there's actually some science behind that. I'm not going to go into all of it right now, but at the end, if you have questions, we can circle back. I'm happy to, whoever invited you can send resources to you. But please, if you have something I say, if you hear me say something you don't understand, just raise your hand and stop me, and I'm happy to answer a question. So we're an informal group. So Nikken has been offering water filtration now for quite several decades. And what is special about their water, it's not simply a filter. Having a good filter to filter out all of the stuff that's in our tap water is super important, because there's so many things that are bad about the tap water. Tonight we're gonna test the chlorine level in tap water, and I'm going to show you how quickly it absorbs into your skin or into food if you cook with tap water, or when you bathe, if you shower in tap water. But just know that it's not just the chlorine that's in tap water. There's fluoride, which many people have trouble with. There's pesticides, herbicides, heavy metals, trace pharmaceuticals. So there's a lot of things in our water that is just simply exist, right? And chlorine is in just about every municipal water, no matter where you live in the country. And chlorine is necessary because you've got to kill all the bacteria, all the things that are living in our tap water. But then the chlorine itself presents a problem. So that's why it's an easy thing for me to be able to test. So, but chlorine, the reason this is such a serious thing is that chlorine itself is not something that causes cancer, which is called a carcinogen. But when chlorine mixes with your body or with food, with anything living, the side effect is it creates things that create carcinogens. So you're raising your risk of cancer by drinking or cooking with tap water. So that's one of the things, right? So if water is so important and we say we want to drink good quality of water, then how do we choose? So there's a couple of things out there. You can, of course, we've already just said tap water is not very good. That's not a great choice. There is bottled water, which many people think is superior, and in many cases it is not. And then there's also different types of filtration. So I want to talk a little bit about both of those. We're going to talk about bottled water, and I just want to give you a little bit of background information. And again, if you're curious about any of this, I'm happy to send you resources. But bottled water, when they've done big studies, and there have been several big studies, they've looked at the really inexpensive, like bottles of water that you can buy, the giant, like 40-pack of water at like Sam's Club or Costco. And they've also looked at kind of the, frou-frou brands of water. And in all across the board, no matter how much you pay for it or how little you pay for it, about a fourth of it was tap water. When they tested it, it hadn't been filtered. It was simply coming from the tap. Why can they do that? Because bottled water companies understand it's not regulated. It's like the wild, wild west out there with bottled water. So those companies can say whatever they want on the label, and it may or may not be true. The second thing is that when they tested all these brands of water, a third of them had things in the water. They were filtered, but then they tested things like arsenic and microplastics, other things that they assume come from the bottling process. So just because they've actually filtered the water, the fact that it's living in the plastic can also create a problem. So there's things that are unwanted, and you don't really know what you're getting. The third point of it is that bottled water is terrible for the environment. We're really living in a crisis of the plastics, the single-use plastics that, oops, sorry, Giselle's coming on. So, putting that much plastics, I think from an environmental standpoint, from being a world concerned community person, if we can reduce the plastics that we utilize and put out there, that's a good thing. And lastly, it's expensive. So when we're talking about bottled water, I've done some pricing things. It's kind of fun to play with the numbers, and you can look at what you pay for bottled water and then convert it to gallons. And I like to look at it and how much does it cost per gallon. And bottled water is expensive. So you're getting something that could be tap water in a bottle. It could have all sorts of things, chemicals and plastic, microplastics that aren't great for you. It could be, you're going to see that it could be acidic, and it's very expensive. So I love having the opportunity to turn you on to something that can save you money and is a whole lot better. Because we're used to things that we say, okay, well, we're gonna invest in something that's a lot better, but it's going to cost you a lot more money, right? That's not uncommon. You upgrade to a car, you're going to pay more money. But in this case, if you're comparing it to bottled water, it's something you can actually save. And Sheila James has a story about that too, about how you can save money and get something that is so much better. Okay, so then we're going to talk, I'm jumping right in here because I don't want to take too much of your time. So then the other point is of comparison is if we're not going to do bottled water, which we'll do the demos in a minute, then what other choices do we have? And I'm going to stop the recording for just a moment because we're trying to not have too long of a recording. So give me a second.